Hi, welcome to a short video on the practical usage of Power BI Desktop, Natural Language Querying, and Cortana Integration. I'm Ashish Mathur, and that's my website ashishmathur.com. So before I actually jump onto each of these three aspects over here, I just like to explain to you as to what the dataset actually looks like. So here I'm looking at the sales data set of an e-commerce company, which is fairly simplistic. I'll just run you by each of these columns over here. So these are the categories that this e-commerce company sells. That is the address, or rather the city where the products are shipped to. Those are the different SKUs that this company sells. Those are the products over here that they sell. So the typical hierarchy between a category, product, and SKU would be category being the topmost, then product name, and then the item SKU. Then that's the total price, that's the discount offered, that's the order at which, that's the date and the time at which the order was placed, that's the order number, whether the order was cancelled or was delivered, and that's the payment type. So it's a very simple data set. It's no more than about 10 odd columns, and if I go row wise, it's nothing but about 39 odd thousand rows of data. So I've completely masked this data to maintain confidentiality of the company that I received this data from. Now, I already have via the BI tools of Excel, namely the Power Pivot, Power Query, and Power View, shown you as to how you can slice and dice this data and see it from multiple perspectives. And I have a separate blog post for that. I'll be sharing the URL of that blog post in the body of the YouTube video that I will be sharing, that you will see up on my page. Now, I need to run you by something else over here. So, as I mentioned to you in my introduction itself, I'd like to show you three different aspects over here. The Power BI, the power of the Power BI desktop, something called natural language querying, which happens on powerbi.com. Last but not least, I'd like to show you how does Cortana integrate with everything. So Cortana is Microsoft's personal digital assistant. We'll see as to how that integrates with my Office 365 account and with powerbi.com to be able to give me instant answers to questions that I may have. Okay, now given the sales data set, I actually would like to explore a new visual that has come up in the Power BI desktop. It's called Sand Dance. So Sand Dance is a custom Power BI desktop visual which I use to actually get insights from this data set, which at least for me is very difficult to get via even Power Pivots or conventional pivots, Power View or normal graphing. Now let me just run you by what exactly am I talking about. So what I did was I took this entire Excel data model into Power BI desktop. So Power BI Desktop is a free software from Microsoft which rolls all the BI tools of Excel into this one over here. And not only does it give me all the functionality which I have with BI in Excel, I can also import and start using custom visuals over here. So you'll see these two tree maps over here, one for the cash on delivery mode of payment, the other for the net banking mode of payment. Now I like to actually show you from scratch as to how did I create this. So I'm going to open a new tab over here. I've downloaded the Sand Dance custom visual from the Power BI custom visual gallery. Now here's what I did. After I imported the Excel model that I showed you, all my fields appear over here. And if I just click over here on Sand Dance, let's just start dragging a few things. So I want to see data from, let's say, the category column. I then would like to go to the day of week to drag that here as well. The shipping address city. So I have to go over here to my shipping cities. I drag the shipping address city over here. From the sales table, I will be dragging the measure which I created called total revenue, which is this one over here. Yeah, the total revenue over here. Then I'm going to drag the payment type as well. So there's something called a payment type column which I drag into this, And what I get over here is, well, honestly, nothing meaningful, nothing really worth talking about. But let's just see as to, how can all this make sense? Um, no, so what's the reason for it being called sand dance? So I guess you can figure that out yourself. If I change the visual, so right now it's a column visual. If I change it to a grid visual, you'll actually see these grains of sand that fall into place. They fall into buckets. If I change it back to a column, so how did I make sense of all of this? It's something like this. Now, before I move any further with changing the visual, I'd like to just set some filters over here. So I only would like to see data for those where the order status is delivered. So I check the box there for delivered. Then I'd like to see where the type of city is a metro. So right now, if I go to my shipping cities table, I'll see that if I drag the type of city over here to my page level filters, I have two types of cities, metros and non-metros. Let's just see data for metros right now. Right now, what we'll do is we'll change the visual of sand dance from a column to something called squarify. So if I take a squarify over there, you'll find a tree map actually come up. Now, if you very clearly look at the demarcating lines over here, you'll see, this is a larger block, then a smaller block over here, and the block keeps getting smaller. So this is a typical tree map, which is also a new visual in Excel 2016. Now, let's just start making some sense of this. So in the sort by, I'm going to say I want to sort this by total revenue. And this is right now sorted in ascending order. Then I will choose my facet by to be the payment type, and I'll choose the color by to be the day of week. Okay, now once I have it up and running till over here, so my sort by is total revenue, my color by is day of the week, and I'm getting only two of them, Friday and other. So if I just go and change the palette over here to something like this, I guess it's a little better looking. So now I get all the 7 days of the week over there. And for now, for this exercise, let's just focus on cash on delivery and net banking. Let me for now, since I know this data quite well, let me skip the EMI on credit card and the interest-free EMI Bajaj Finance, because I know there isn't a lot of revenue that came from these two sources. And therefore, what I'll also do is I'll drag the payment type over here to the page level fields, and over here I'll choose only cash on delivery and I'll choose net banking. So that messes up the visual, so I'll just redo all of this. My sort by would be total revenue over here, color by would be day of the week, facet by would be the payment type. So I'll get something over here, right? Now, what has it done? It's basically broken up that one large tree map into two tree maps, one for the cash on delivery, the other for the net banking. I've colored each of the squares of the two tree maps by the days of the week, and I've sorted the revenue in ascending order. Okay, now what exactly does this tell me? If I focus only on the cash on delivery, I find different colors over here coming for each of these days of the week. And in what order are they organized? Since I've chosen the order to be ascending order, so it's the smallest transaction value over here. And as I keep progressing diagonally like this, I find the largest transaction value come over here. Now, how do I get data for any specific square in this tree map? If I actually click on this, only that one highlights in blue, graying everything out in turn. And if I click on the eye over here for information, I'll actually get to see every single piece of information for all the fields that I've dragged for that specific data point. So this category of product is what I see. It's NB, the day of the week is a Friday, payment type is a cash on delivery, the shipping address city is Bangalore, and the total revenue is 1.01, right? I can click back anywhere and I come back to where I started from. If I click on this, if I go back to I, once again I can get all the details over there. What I more importantly want to show to you is that the total revenue here is lesser, which is 0.87. So as you can see from the block itself, the highest revenue, lower than that, lower than that, lower than that. Okay, so here is what I can derive from this. If I look at only the cash on delivery mode of payment, my top 3 transactions happened on a Friday. I'll repeat that. If I look at only the cash on delivery mode of payment, my top 3 transactions happened on a Friday, as you can see from the color over here. And by the way, another thing interesting is that if I choose from the legend over here, let's say only Friday, it just shows me all the Fridays over here as well. Now, so while this is good, I'd like to actually do 2 things over here. Number one is I'd like to verify the fact that the total number of records which I see here, 3042, does indeed tally up with if I had to create a conventional pivot table from this in Excel. So that will give me one bit of comfort. Next, I want to go and verify these numbers a bit as well, right? These individual numbers which I see there, just so that I'm absolutely sure of what this is churning out to me. Okay, and while this sand dance visual is still not complete, I'll come back to this in about 2 minutes from now. Let me just first convince you on these totals that we see over here. So what I did was this. I went back to my Excel file, and from this sales data set which I already have, I created a simple pivot table. All the fields which I dragged to my Power BI desktop, if you remember, they were order status which was delivered, type of city which was metro, the payment type which was cash on delivery and net banking, day of the week which is Friday, category and shipping address city. Now if I just, and I've dragged revenue to my value area section over here. So if I just look at how many records I have over here, which is 3042, 3042, I get the same 3042 number of records over here as well, which means that whatever I've dragged and dropped is indeed taking into account every single data point from my base data, and I've been able to validate that from the simple pivot table that I've created here. Okay, now as I said, these 3 red squares over here tell me that for the cash on delivery mode of payment, the top 3 transactions actually were placed on Fridays or were ordered on Fridays. Now, if I take my mouse on this, if I click over there, I see the total revenue is 1.011. If I click on the next one over here, I see this is 0.8798. Okay, now let's verify this. What I did then next was, once I create the pivot table, I just step outside and I write a simple Excel large function. The large Excel function takes 2 inputs. What's the array, and which largest value do you want? So I want the largest value from this array over here, and I see that comes up to 1.011. Okay. And just so that we're looking at the same data set, let me go and show this only for cash on delivery, not net banking, because that's what we are focusing on right now. So which is why you'll see the range I've taken is from G7 to 1621. If I look at this, it's actually 1621 number of rows. Okay. If I look at now the second largest value for in the same range, you'll see that number comes to 0.879887. And which is exactly what I showed you on the Power BI desktop software as well. Last but not least, the third one with the number 3 in the large function gives me 0.819. Now if I click on this, if I go to I over there, is 0.819, right? So this seems to validate my data, and that's what actually gave me comfort when I was trying this out for the first time. Okay, now if I once again, let's say, go over here, this tells me that the shipping order city for this order was Bangalore. Now how do I verify that whether it's Bangalore or not? So I go back over here, and if I do a simple index match function, say that find for this particular value in this column, wherever found, fetch the city for me, I get Bangalore for the top 3 over there, which is true for this one as well. So I go to I over there, I see Bangalore there. If I click on this one, I see Bangalore yet again, and if I click on this one over here, I see Bangalore yet again. So far so good. Now let's just try one last thing over here. Now this tells me that the top 3 transactions for the cash on delivery mode of payment happened on a Friday. Let's check that. So let me just do a copy of this, paste special values over here. If I copy this, I select this, I do a find and replace, or rather find only. If I just say find next over here, it tells me that number is found in row 150. If I go to column D and go all the way up, you'll actually see this did indeed happen on a Friday. I'll just do one last check over here, copy paste special values. I copy this, I take this over here, I do a control F, I just paste that number there. So that's in row 241, and if I go up column D over there, you'll see that indeed does happen on a Friday as well. I've checked it for a fair number of other transactions. Just to save on time, I'll halt my scanning process here itself. Okay, in other words, what I'm trying to show you is, you can see how I am using Power BI desktop by simply choosing a certain view as Squarify and dragging a few things inside that grid, sorting by revenue. I've been able to immediately, without writing any formula, without writing any large function, on a simple visual depiction, I can see as to which are my highest value transactions by any mode of payment over here. Now this is still not complete actually. While this only tells me that that I had the top 3 transactions by the cash on delivery mode of payment, it still does not tell me as to which city did it come from and what was the category ordered. The only way for me to know that right now is to click on each one of these squares over here and then go to I. Now I'd like to once again get a visual depiction of this. So here's what one can do. If I change the view from a Squarify over here to a stack over here, okay, you got a 3D kind of a visual over here like this, and let's change a few things over here. So let's say here I'd like to actually see data for category, and here I want to see it for let's say shipping address city over here, right? Now if I see it, or rather let's do it another way, I'm sorry, let me just take you back to the Squarify there, okay, and I'll sort this by total revenue. Now let's say if I wanted to see the shipping address city and the category only for these 3, I can simply select, sorry, I can simply select these over here by dragging my mouse over. It selects these 3 squares for me, everything gets grayed out, and there's something over here called isolate the selected items. I can simply isolate the selected items. I get a big square over there which is only for Friday. Now this square does have parts to it, so if I select this, you'll see this is one block, this is another block, and that's the third block. Okay, now if I actually take a look at a stack of this, right, this is what comes out. So here let me actually show categories. Here let me show shipping address cities, and looks like this visual still requires some work from Microsoft, but you will see the block shifting outside of this grid. But if I actually were to click on, let's say, this product NB here, and I'm not being able to click now somehow, but if I go to the navigation panel, let's say reset the navigation, if I now click on NB over here, you'll see only the NB portion over there highlight. So NB entirely comes from Bangalore, FS also entirely comes from Bangalore over here, and so does WW. Now just to make a little more sense of this, I'm going to shift back to Squarify, and I'm going to reset the filter and selection. I'll sort this in, so I'll show revenue there. Now instead of actually only selecting the Fridays over here, let me actually select this over here, the entire first column of my cash on delivery mode of payment. Now let me isolate these items, and this may make a little more sense. Now if I go and start seeing stacks over there, here is what we actually get. So I have category over there. I'm going to choose shipping address city over here, and let me go to the navigation panel. Let me just say reset navigation over there. Okay, now I'll get a city over here as other. That's because there's only one bin set over there. Let me actually go and change this to, let's say, 5 bins there. So while there aren't 5 cities, there are only 2 of them. So essentially what this tells me that if I look at my top 10 highest value transactions by the cash on delivery mode of payment, they came only from 2 cities, Bangalore and Hyderabad, for these categories that I ordered. If I choose FS over here, there were 2 of them on FS, and if I actually go to I over there, I can see record 1 of 2. I can read the details of every single block over there, click on the next one to see the details of the other record. So this is an absolutely fantastic visual. I've been playing around with it for some time and I've been absolutely mesmerized with the way one can actually simply by dragging, dropping, look at blocks and look at, choose to have anything on XY axis, apply filters and be able to get some insights without writing any formula whatsoever. Now doing this via conventional or even a power pivot table would have been quite an uphill task. And there's one more thing which I haven't really explored over here, which is the fact that one can actually use a 3D rotation over here as well. I can rotate this with the help of my mouse, and I can sort of, as though I'm almost balancing on the palm of my hand to be able to see it from whatever angle suits me best. I haven't really explored that much. Maybe you can do so. For now, let me just reset the navigation to get it back to where I started from. So this is a simple introduction to what the sand dance visual in Power BI desktop allows me to do. And right now I've discussed only two types of views with you. One is stacks, one is squarify. There are others over here as well that one can see, right? You can try to explore that by yourself. So this is aspect one of this video that I wanted to show you. So that's sand dance. Now what else do I want to show you over here? So let me now just sort of close this the Power BI desktop software. Let me not save this at all. And taking you back to my cover slide which I had, we've discussed the Power BI desktop, okay, for the Sandance visual. Now I'd like to show you something called natural language querying. So there is a facility to upload your data from the Power BI desktop to something called powerbi.com. So powerbi.com is a service from Microsoft which which you can open an account free in if you have an Office 365 subscription already. So if I just go over here, I open up my web browser and I go to powerbi.com there. Once I do so, I just go sign in there. And whatever visual I had shown you of the sand dance using Power BI desktop can directly be rendered on this web page over here as well. Now the look and the feel of it is exactly the same. I can play around with it the same way I was on my Power BI desktop, and you don't need to have that software open on your system. As you can see from the tabs over here, I've closed that software. I need not even have the Excel file open. This too can be closed, and it works the same way I did on my Power BI desktop. I can select this over here. So I can select this over here and I can isolate the way I did over there, and I can change the visual from a squarify over here to a stack over here, and it just all works pretty much the same way. So even if I don't have that file but access to a web browser with my credentials for Office 365, I'm actually good to go, right? Okay, now I really want to show you something else over here actually. If I go to my dashboards over here, so if I go to my dashboard over here, there's something called ask a question about the data on this dashboard. Herein I want to show you what the power of natural language querying actually is. So just to save on your time, what I've actually done is I have a few queries listed over here, which is what I framed when I was actually building up that model. So let's start with the simplest of them all. Let's say I want to show the total revenue by category as a column chart. So just to save on time, I copy this query over here. I go here, I just paste the query there, and I delete the index number from there. The moment I do so, you'll see it understands my query in real time. And if I just plot it as a column chart, I see this chart come up over here like this. So I see that my top selling category is FS, which has a revenue of 23.52. Just to quickly verify this number, if I go back to my Excel file, I have a Power View sheet over there wherein I already have the total revenue by category, and I see that FS is what earns me the maximum revenue, which is 23.52, right? And please note, I really haven't trained the system to be able to understand any keywords or so. I just started typing. All I of course kept in mind was that total revenue over here is one of the measures that I've created in my Power Pivot. So show me the total revenue measure by category. So category is once again the name of a column in my base data, and I can choose whatever chart I want over here. Let's try one or two more. So I want to show total revenue by order period as a pie chart in descending order of total revenue where the day of the week is a Sunday. Or rather, let's keep things simple. Show total revenue by order period as a pie chart in descending order of total revenue. So if I copy this over here, I type it over here, I delete the index number there. So it's showing me what's the total revenue by order period, which is midday, evening, night, morning, as a pie chart in descending order of total revenue. So you can actually see as to how it's responding to natural queries that I'm typing, and this can happen right away. The moment you sort of connect your Power BI account to a certain file which is on your OneDrive for Business, which is what I've just done to my the Power BI desktop file that I created, I can actually see my I can start typing in right away, and I can pin this to my dashboard to actually have this visual up there for me whenever I log into my account. And so there's a lot one can do with the powerbi.com service. My objective over here was just to show you the natural language querying bit. Okay, so this is the second aspect of what I wanted to show to you. We've done the Power BI desktop, we've done the natural language querying. Now let's look at Cortana integration. So I'm going to close my web browser here, okay, and I'm also going to close this Excel file over here. So once again, just to show to you, if you look at my tabs down below, my Power BI desktop is closed, my web browser is closed, and so is my Excel file. I just have this Word file that's open before me where I have these queries typed. Now, in Windows 10, you can actually link your Windows 10 PC to your Office 365 account, which is what I've already done. And there's a personal digital assistant over here called Cortana. Now, in the Ask Me Anything, the beauty is that I can actually have answers to all my questions over here, which I've typed in this Word document by simply typing my query in the search box over there. So let's try this right away. I want to show the total revenue by category as a column chart. I simply copy that query over here. I go over here and I simply go and delete this. Now you'll see that it actually fetched this data from my powerbi.com account from the Sandance visual. When I click on this, it actually will show me as to what is the total revenue by category as a column chart. Seems to be taking some time right now. Let me retry. So instead of copying it from there, what if I simply just type it over here? Show total revenue by category as a column chart. If I click on this over here, okay, it says loading, and you'll see that chart come up in practically real time, whatever little 2-3 seconds it took to process. And I can type each one of these queries over there. Let me try the other one which I had shown you on the powerbi.com service, and the copy paste should also be working. Powerbi.com by order period of the pie chart and descending order of total revenue. If I do that, I see the same pie chart which I saw on my web page. So this is absolutely fantastic. I've been using it for my own personal data, wherein I don't even need to have Excel or powerbi.com open. I just go to my search box available in Windows 10, and I type that search query in the Cortana search box there, and that's about it. It's all done, right? So there's a lot one can do with Microsoft Office, especially Excel, Power BI desktop, and Cortana. They work absolutely very well together. I hope you enjoyed watching the short video. Thank you very much.